So, have you ever wondered what makes some teams thrive while others struggle, even with the same resources and talent? Well, our next keynote, Building Successful Teams, Intentional and Inspirational Leadership, will exactly explore this. Please welcome our speaker, Kevin MacRitchie, CEO, President, and Chairman of Tactical Rehabilitation and Brilliant Health Solutions, our gold sponsor. He is a 35-plus year veteran of the IT, healthcare, manufacturing, education, and government industries, dedicated to delivering the best solution for his patients, providers, and employees. In this session, he will share insights on how leadership strategy and motivation combine to create high-performing, resilient teams. Get ready for practical approaches to strengthen collaboration, align vision with action, and inspire individuals to give their best. Kevin MacRitchie, the stage is all yours.
Thank you so much. It's great to be here again. We got to present a few years ago as a part of the 2.0 conferences. It's great to be back. Thank you so much for having us, and thank you so much for having our company here. I'd like to introduce my business partner in the back, Karen Lyons. You'll see her picture on a few things, and she'll be speaking next over in the healthcare conference. If you'd like to go over there, she'll be talking about building new companies and bringing them online and streamlining business as well. A little background, myself. Here it is in quick summary form. As she said, I am the CEO, Chairman, and President of both Tactical Rehabilitation and Brilliant Health Solutions here. I'm also the Honorary Commander on Ellsworth Air Force Base in South Dakota. So if you have a moment throughout the day, just think about everybody that's deployed, think about everybody that's serving our nation, and thank them for doing so. At Tactical Rehabilitation, put together a company, our founder, David Marr, 2013. He had two other medical supply companies, put them together, sold those companies, and built Tactical Rehabilitation to serve the U.S. military and begin to provide them the best in quality health care and support and personnel and services above and beyond what they had before. And his viewpoint was, hey, why do they always get the worst product for the most money, especially in healthcare? Not what he thought was valuable as a patriot and a law enforcement officer like myself as well. Tactical was founded to be able to provide the best quality products, services, solutions for the U.S. military, and that has expanded into a number of new markets that we continue to grow in that area. On the Brilliant Health Solutions side, as one of our partners was beginning to step back, Karen and I took over and built a new company to bring that technology forward in biomechanical health and to lead the industry in biomechanical health solutions. They are a supplier to Tactical, but they're also a supplier to a number of markets, and that continues to grow daily. And that's a little bit about our companies. So let's talk about leadership. I always look at leadership as first, what am I proud of in terms of the things that we as companies have accomplished? And that kind of helps set the stage. Maybe if you're looking for a place to start, how are you going to go build your teams around some of the things they have already accomplished? And if I was to look at 6 or 7 things right now that I'm proud of from our company and our people and our team, I would certainly say first and foremost, in the upper right-hand corner, it's our people. They are the most valuable resource that we have. They're highly trained. We love them all. Karen can tell you the story that we had someone applying for our HR manager position, and they said, hey, we're going to cut this business about calling everybody a family, and your employees are not family. And we said, well, they're not going to fit our culture very well, so we did not hire that person. They're talented and skillful in every other way, but we view everybody as a family. I think between Karen and I, we know every child and grandchild of all of our employees. We know them well. We know what's going on. We call them on their birthdays. We call them on their work anniversaries. Worst case, we'll give them a text. We'll call them later, but neither one of us miss that. And we're going to continue to do that with both companies for as long as that's possible, no matter how many employees there are. It might take up the whole day at some point, I hope. But we're certainly proud of our people. In 2023, we were voted best place to work in America. I got a call from somebody over at Delta Airlines. We'll talk about him later. Said, hey, you beat us out. We're going to beat you out next year. So we have a nice, fun game going back and forth there on that. We're sitting tied for first for 2026 right now. So we're excited about that. Our employees are excited about that, and they're highly motivated to try and win back that award. So it's kind of a fun game we have going on. But it's something to be very proud of, and your people your team's wrapped around. They've earned it. On the tactical rehab side, we improve the lives of our nation's heroes every single day. We get them back to service-ready mode as quickly as possible, and we put them back into a healed state, not slowing the degradation of their current condition, which is what the typical industry healthcare side of that was before we entered that market. We've been voted the U.S. military's #1 provider for the last 5 years in a row, and the Department of Labor views us as one of their #1 providers for opportunities for those that are retiring out of the military. So we've earned their Platinum Award the last 4 years in a row, and their Gold Award prior to that. And we've been recognized as a company and as our leadership teams, not just the executive team, but our leadership team as a whole, for our leadership in the industry as well as within our company, and is growing and serving our patients and our partners that help us be successful for those that we serve. So with this as a foundation, and keeping in mind that that gives you some place to build on as you're beginning your communication strategies. If you're new to a company, you need to look at some of that and understand their culture and know what those things are. For me, I like quotes. Some people like movies, some people like books. I thought I'd use a few quotes here. These are 4 that I kind of alternate between in my signature line. Yes, that's from Spider-Man up in the top if you don't recognize that, right? Great line, but it has a lot of meaning behind it. Those of you that are at the C-level or in any leadership position in your company, you have a great amount of responsibility. How you use that to lead, guide, and develop people is critical. I happen to live near Mount Rushmore. My favorite pastime is when somebody asks what I'm doing, I say I'm riding on my horse from my home up to Mount Rushmore for lunch, and then I'm riding back, right? But Gutzon Borglum said, basically, there should never be the word "I can't" in a statement. Right? I grew up with my kids. When I found this statement, and one of my very close friends is the president and CEO of the foundation for Mount Rushmore, and she had this quote, and I said, I'm stealing that. I'll give him credit for it, but I like that. We should always be able to say, "I can." My team will always say yes. Kevin will always say yes to anything you come to him with. However, it'll have a whole bunch of caveats on how we have to get there, right? Legally, ethically, morally correct, all those kinds of things, right? Margaret Mead, great author, great philanthropist, but tell me anything that happens where you don't get a group of people that are motivated together, and that's how things happen. And then the last one, probably none of you will recognize. I used to live in Michigan before I lived in South Dakota, although I've lived in South Dakota about a third of the year for the last 25 years. The highest winning basketball team, high school, in Michigan, that's the only thing printed on their shirts. Notice there's no number. It's on both of their sleeves. It's on the back. The only thing different on the front is their team mascot. And I have yet to ever see them lose a game. When they would come to my son's school, I'd go, "Well, sorry, son, you guys are, going to lose tonight." But he was in the pep band, so it wasn't a big deal for him. He just got to go out and play drums and have a great time. But if you're looking at those kinds of things, they can motivate you as well to then turn that around and take that energy in motivating others. So with that kind of as a pre-context, let's talk about what I look at as the C-suite dilemma. Right? You'll see the org chart in the upper right corner, sorry. I like to look at the org chart that way, and I'll tell you how I look at it in general. It's not just the number of people that we serve in our company, and having worked for Cisco Systems for 27 and a half years in the U.S. and abroad, and ran their channels organization as well as the Global Government Solutions Group and Global Defense teams for the U.S. and all the allied nations. I also look at all of our partners. So we had one partner for a very long time that we were 60% of their business, so I look at 60% of their company I'm responsible for with Karen and our leadership team to keep them employed as well. I look at their families, and we look at that as a whole, and that's our responsibility. So that great power, great responsibility, view that as the bigger picture of your responsibility, not just the individuals that work for you, but their families, right? Their kids. They're getting a new lunchbox for school or not. So this is your responsibility as a leader, and I like to view us at the bottom. Everybody will tell you on our end, we work for our employees, we work for our team members. Karen and I bought the company, turned it into an ESOP, and gave it, in terms of tactical rehab, back to the employees. We work for them, right? It's a mindset change. It's not just a graphic, and that looks great there, but it is a mindset change for us to think about. Our responsibility as leaders is to create things like generational employment, and we'll talk about that in a little bit. I'll ask, do you develop your team or do you direct your team? There's a big difference there. And we'll talk a little bit more about that. One of the other key concepts I want you to walk away with is failing forward and creating successes about that. There's no way you're in a C-level position or any leadership position without having failed numerous times. Hopefully, though, from those failures, you've learned something. And not to just not fail in that one again, and taking an element from AI, maybe we'd be a little bit smarter on that equation, and we learn how not to create those kinds of failures in other things that we'll do, right? We learn from those, and we broaden that into other areas. And last, as a good leader, I'll tell you, consistency is good. I've had great bosses, and I've had absolutely horrible bosses, but one of the things about my most horrible bosses is they were just horrible all the time, so I knew how to approach them, right? If you are great, come see me today, and tomorrow you're grumpy, and you don't want to, people don't, they're just are uncomfortable being around you. If they know you're just going to be an ogre, they know how to approach you, right? So stay an ogre if that's your normal position. Don't try to fake it in any other way. Back to some inspiration side of this, right? So you cannot be a good leader without looking to others. In the horse world, and I spend a ton of time on my horse and in the horse world in general, but we would say a trainer without a trainer, if your trainer does not have a trainer, you need to find another trainer. In here, I think if we look at this from a business standpoint, somebody who does not have a trainer, a coach, a learning partner, something, has stopped learning. Right? I'm seeking new people all the time. Karen's seeking new people all the time. We're bringing new people into the company just to give us new ideas. And we might shed 70, 80% of them, but somewhere in there's got to be a good idea we haven't thought of, right? Here are 6 of the people I look up to outside of our company. I certainly view my wife as an extraordinary human being. I look up to her, my business partner, Karen, all our people within our company. But if I'm looking outside of the company, and some of these folks are great friends of mine. Baba Cathy, if you don't know Baba, he's the owner of Chick-fil-A. He's a great friend. My son, when he was 13, taught him how to crack a bullwhip from a horse. We actually took him out chasing buffalo in Custer State Park, and some of his employees as well, and we had a great time. I still reach out to him, and he and some of his coworkers and his coaches lend some time with myself every now and then, and we get to do that. John Chambers, I used to work for John for 20-some years, almost 30 years, in fact. Great inspiring leader, great inspiring speaker. All my time at Cisco, our office was just a few doors apart from each other, and I got to be the person he would blame for being late to meetings all the time, so I tried to figure out how to be gone when I knew he had something big going on. But he used to send me all over the globe, so it was easy. I look at these companies, I look at the companies that do really well, and one of the things we did is we took everybody out of the field and took everybody to Ritz-Carlton school and said, if we're going to be best in patient care, we have to be best in customer service, patient service. We took everybody out of the company, and this will be meaningful here in just a moment, more so than it might be here at the second, and we followed the footsteps of Ed Bastian at Delta, Chick-fil-A, Disney. They all go to Ritz-Carlton school too. And my dear friend Molly, who I got to work with for about 10 or 15 years at Cisco Systems, I've sent some folks to her training. If you guys have a chance, go on her website. You get a weekly email of something to think about. She has some 30-day programs. They last about 5 minutes a day. They're great refreshers on communication skills. So these are some of the people that I just look up and say, these are great companies. When I go there, you feel like you're king when you walk in, and you feel like you're even more so, maybe the emperor when you leave. We want that for every patient that we serve at both of our companies. So why lead? Why do we lead? Somebody said in an earlier session, hey, what is an executive? And James, I don't know if he's in the room or not, that I sat in, and he said, executives do nothing. Okay, but our responsibility is to lead the company. And I look at leading as educating and developing others and creating future leaders. At some point, you're not going to be in the seat you're in. And I don't care where you are as a leader in the organization. You have to bring those individuals up to take your seat so you can either move up or retire. But the company has to have longevity, and hopefully you're thinking about generational employment. We at Tactical, and now with Brilliant Health Solutions, every child born to any employee of ours, we send a onesie that says future employee of Tactical Rehabilitation or future employee of Brilliant Health Solutions. Right? We want them to know that we care about their family. James, you said this earlier. There you are. I knew I saw you somewhere. Right? Hugely important to make the family feel involved. This is one thing I tell my wife all the time when I come home. I love you, I adore you, and you make my job easy. I know I'd have to travel a lot. Most of the time you go with me, but my home life is exceptional, which makes my work life to be even more exceptional, right? And so it helps us think about incorporating the family and bringing them into the fold of our company, that they are supportive as a result. Now, in our company, because we are an ESOP, all of our employees are employee owners. We are about 65% women, which makes us a woman-owned company, and we are a veteran-owned company as well, because we try to very aggressively focus on hiring veterans to serve active duty military on that side of the business. The other thing is if you can create a vision for your company that creates loyalty, pride, fulfillment, accomplishment, you name all your favorite words, it helps create a focus for them if they can buy into that vision. If they can't buy into the vision, you're either not communicating it well or you have the wrong vision, because they're doing something that doesn't apply to that. About every couple years, I do a waterfall exercise, and I go, every project, everything, every goal you might have in your department, put them all down, and we're going to say, here's the corporate goals, and we're going to see how many goals end up in the company that don't align upwards to each function and then to the company's vision, mission, or purpose. Right? If they don't align there, people get scattered about. They don't know where they're going and if is it something the company would value or not. When I joined Tactical, people would say, should we do this, should we do that? I don't get that very often anymore. It's we did this because it aligns with our goals, and look what it's going to do to produce us more ability to see more patients and serve our nation that way. And if your people are bought in, they're going to align behind that. We're going to talk a little bit more about that in a moment. I like to say leadership is guidance, and guidance is developing your team. Right? And I like to look at it this way. I used to love taking my kids bowling, and they put the bumpers up, right? So I think our job as leaders is to say, here's kind of the outer bound guidelines, and sometimes I don't even tell them where they are, right? Most of the time, I try not to. But as they're getting off track a little bit, I try to guide them back towards the middle if possible. But I also want to allow them to make some of those mistakes where they're not running down that center track. University of Michigan, University of Waterloo, I used to do either a one-day or an all-semester session on leadership and what I call the 3-9-27 plan, right? So every decision, because I think in threes, and most humans, they say think in threes anyway, you got decisions to make at all steps. Maybe you know where the goal is, but there might be a lot of steps to get there, and at every step that you move forward, now you've got another decision process. One, are you going to keep doing it or not? Now there's an obstacle. What are you going to do to get around that obstacle? And then how far out of green are you going to get in blue, blue into yellow, yellow into red, that sort of thing? And where do you step in to help get them guided back, right? I could spend all day talking about that. You don't want to hear about that. But I think in general, as a good leader, we're letting them make some mistakes that are not harmful to the company in a large way. They're maybe not super costly, although I do remember a coworker at Cisco made $1 million mistake, and I said, it's all right, I run $40 billion of revenue for the company. I'll cover it for you, but we're still going to go fess up to it as long as we both learn what that mistake was, right? So exciting opportunity for them to learn and be very successful going forward. I remember going into John Chambers and Rick Snyder, my bosses when I was at Cisco, and that, PowerPoint was big back then, and of course we still use it now. Great interview with Bill Gates said the biggest thing he did for changing communication was PowerPoint. Like now maybe it's going to be AI, I don't know. But we'd come in with 30 slides. He'd say, make this shorter. And you just keep going back and back and back till you could come in one slide and tell your whole story. And then he'd go, great. You have all the backup slides? Go make it happen. Right? So as we create that and we help others understand the path that we have them on, and they understand the vision that they're driving for and why leadership has created that vision. And in our case, at Tactical, we had our employees rewrite our vision, mission, and purpose statement, and then all our service goals, and I'll come back to that. One of the things I hear a lot about is leadership for survival. Survival of my company. Survival of your company. Survival of the company, right? One of the things I did for Cisco for 3.5 years during the Syrian refugee crisis was be overseas, and that was leadership for survival, because every day we were getting shot at, people trying to stab us, people knocking over ladders, people, you name it, trying to do everything they could to us to get us out. Our job was to build refugee camps and then go into Syria, because I have a military and intelligence agency background as well. Go into Syria, get refugees out. Spent about 1.5 years in Azraq, Jordan, on the border of Syria and Iraq, if you know where that's at. In the upper right-hand corner, I took a picture of that because every time we'd put up some technology there, they'd shoot just the 3/4 of a mile from the Syrian border and shoot it back down, sometimes within seconds of us getting our head out of the way. And we were thankful that they let us get our head out of the way, by the way. The picture in the middle is in Diavata, Greece, where we built a refugee camp where they decided they would try to bring warring factions and warring tribes into the same camp and see how that would work out, because they were trying to leave all that. Well, what I can tell you is they were burning the camp down every day, and because we were bringing the refugees in, and they wanted Wi-Fi because it was the only way to seek asylum, when they were burning the refugee camp down and they wouldn't let the police, fire, or military in, I said, get out of the way, they'll let me in. And they laughed, and I said, look, the only way they can get out of this camp is for my team and I to be able to turn Wi-Fi back on, and they can seek asylum and get on Skype and do all those sort of wonderful things. So they're not going to shoot at us this time because they know it's their only way out. So I sat down with all 5 tribal leaders and said, look, here's how it's going to be. We ain't coming back. And long story short, they put on this amazing dinner for my team and I at the bottom down here, probably the best food I've ever had in my life. But I will tell you that that's a year's salary's worth of food for those 5 tribal leaders in the environment that they were in, and they would not let the UN pay for it, who offered to, and they wouldn't let us pay for it. And I still stay in touch with all 5 of those tribal leaders after all these years, and they're great people in a very bad situation. But when you think about leading your company and leading your people and leading for survival, it's no different in our business worlds. We're leading to survive. There's somebody out to get you all the time. You are better than somebody else at something, and therefore they are trying to mimic you and are trying to get to that same stage with you as quickly as possible. Right? It's a competitive market out there, so they're coming after you. So it's always leadership for survival, even back at home in our safety of our home. Right? So I want you to think about that, because people are always coming after you. And rallying your team around your vision, mission, and purpose is hugely important. And so that you can drive them down that path and help lead them and guide them into those areas, and they get behind that. I'm going to jump to the bottom on here on purpose for a moment. Quick story. Our junior accountant, maybe 4 years ago, she was only with the company 3 or 4 months, and Karen left to go to her presentation. It was one of her employees, who's now our junior director of finance and accounting, by the way. At the time, she was 23, and we're like, that's really young to know as much as she does, but she's awesome, I got to tell you. Bree's amazing. Second time I'd ever met her, went to our corporate headquarters, which is outside of Camp Lejeune in Jacksonville, North Carolina. She literally grabs me by the shoulder, the collar, says, come on, we're going down the way. And we're in a big mall area there, and she took me down the way. I said, what are we doing? She says, we're going to get tattoos. I said, okay, I'm game. And so we went down there, and she says, no, we're getting the company logo tattooed on us. And I said, okay, I'm game, let's do it. You and I, same time. Right? So lo and behold, Bree, being with the company, I think 3 or 4 months, somewhere in that neighborhood, was so enamored by the work we'd done on our vision, mission, and purpose, so enamored with the team, and it doesn't matter who she talked to, everybody was behind it in terms of what we were doing as a company, supporting our nation's heroes, felt they were part of a lot of the missions. Me serving as an honorary commander, I could give them a lot of background that's not classified, that sort of a thing, and said, we're doing it. By the end of the day, I didn't realize she had the entire corporate office signed up to do tattoos if she and I would get them done together. And then later, she broadcast it to everybody, and we had like 7 or 8 or 10 more people by the end of the week that went out and had tattoos. By the way, they all still work here. Right? They are so committed to our mission of serving others and broadening our focus on providing optimal health care for human performance that they still work here. And they're like, I just had our new HR person say, tell me about this tattoo thing. I want to be a part of the gang. And I went, well, it is definitely not a requirement, right? But I have a group of people that are that committed that want to do it. I have a few folks that want to do it, and their spouse absolutely will not let them get a tattoo. And I'm like, well, we can come up with something different for you if you want, right? So mine's right here. But I will say that as a good leader, one, if you can get your team to be that strong, they don't have to do tattoos. There's a lot of other things that they can do, right? But to be a good leader, you need to know as much about you as possible. And you need to know what you do really well. And I know there's some things that I do really, really well. Starts with horseback riding, starts with moving buffalo on horseback, those kind of things. But in the business world, there's some things I do really well too. There's a lot of things I'm really horrible at. There's a lot of things that I don't do well. All of us have a really good sense of focus in certain areas, but we're not as good in others. And I'll tell you that knowing what you don't do well and fessing up to that, and then hiring the people that do. I don't care if you use the color wheels or Briggs and whatever it is, Briggs and Myers, I think it is, right? I don't care what it is. Figure out what you know, validate it in some fashion, and then hire the people on your staff and the people you surround yourself with that look at those other areas for you. And some of them are going to be annoying because you just don't want to hear that. Like, oh my gosh, right? I'm the proverbial optimist. We can do anything. I've got one on my team that is the proverbial far end. The other side, nothing will ever work, but he does make us all see where the issues are going to lie long before we might see them. Or he just repetitively brings them to life that we solve them fast enough that we can get them on board, right? But if you're not getting all 360-degree view of what it is you're trying to accomplish and where you want to go and the things you need to get done and what's most important, you're going to be blindsided, and that's where your competitors are going to come, or you're going to fail in the delivery of your services, right? I will also tell you, as I said, we're very close with our employees. We view everybody as family, but there's a line that I don't cross, and and everybody knows we don't cross that. I may have my toes on that line, and a lot of them have their toes on that line, but I'm still their boss first, and the way I like to look at it, I work for them first, and the same, right? Our former director of operations and I at dinner one night with the team, that's just like we're a big hugging group. We just all go to dinners together and when we're at meetings together or out with our employees, but there is a line that we don't cross, and that is to try and do favors on the individual side from the company. We just don't do that, and you have to know not to do it. Because once you start that, you can never stop that, right? So I'll say, look at your hiring plan, look at the people that you know, and part of one of the things that you need, look at your hiring plan and look at the people that you need to get to complement you. But also, and last out here, is know your style. If you don't have a defined style in a textbook somewhere, don't worry about it. I didn't know I supposedly had one until years ago. At every place I'd ever worked, or every role I ever had within Cisco, and then here, everybody's like, man, you are textbook tipping point style. So I read up on it about 10 years ago, learned that, that is exactly what I do. I'm in good cohorts with Teddy Roosevelt. I like him a lot. And apparently that was his style too, and several others, right? So knowing your style, and if there is sort of a textbook alignment in part of your style or two, read about it, learn about it, hone up on those skills, be consistent in those skills, right? In my style, I like to find people at every level in the company that buy into our vision and let them sell corporate vision or new moves, or we're going to go to a new software platform that's going to make patient care easier. Because there's always I just learned this last one, 10 years ago. I don't want to have to learn another one already. But times change, right? So I try to find all those people that are the great lieutenants out there and rally the teams that surround them to be those leaders to make stuff happen. It makes my job easier because they're motivated. They want to go make things happen. One of the other big things that we did, I mentioned we took the entire company to Ritz-Carlton. We came back and we had everybody rewrite our vision, mission, and purpose. Then they created all our service values. They created our culture cards. And by the way, we have kind of a fun deal. If anybody doesn't have their cards on them at our company and we catch each other without one, there's like $20 that goes by, or a dinner or lunch or pizza or something. If anybody catches me without mine, I owe them $100. So I keep like 20 of them in my backpack, right? So I just hand them out and go, there's your $100 bill. There's another card for you, right? The other thing that we did is, so when I say know your employees and know your people, know what motivates them. So when we changed the company to an ESOP, so an employee stock owned company, right? So we literally, Karen and I financed it and we gave it to the employees. I started to hear more and more about, you and Karen and your finance team, and like all you guys think about is money. Well, Karen has a great saying, no margin, no mission, coming out of the NGO community. And I worked with UN and UNHCR and WHO and all them. Same deal. They all say the same thing. And so we found out, especially for those that work for us, 50, 60% of our employee base that are military, they're like, man, I don't want to be in this. It's all about the money. What about the patient? Okay, fair enough. We thought, giving you all the company, you would want to know the finances and if you are making money or not as owners. But okay, what if we try this? In the last, we turned the company into an ESOP 2 years, and what is today, the 10th or 9th? April 2nd, 2 years ago. So 2 years and 7 days ago. So in about let's just say 22 months, we've not reported a single financial element to any employee other than finance and accounting. We turned everything into patient count. And I have never seen more people motivated, I think even more so than taking them and letting them stay at the Ritz-Carlton for a week and take training there, which like gold level service, right? We have not mentioned a dollar or a penny or anything. We talk about how can we improve the lives of our patients and how many more patients can we serve and get to. And they're all over that. They beat me up as to, can we go serve on this base? Can we get here? Can we go into this market, into the professional sports market with a lot of our products because it's the same kind of high performance needs as Navy SEALs and the Halo jumpers, you name it, right? And so they're pushing us on patient count. And how can they serve those that we are here to serve more? And it's been an amazing transformation. That's all I can do to keep up with all these people in different time zones anymore. Pushing us hard, right? So that was one thing that worked really well for us. I will tell you that you need to find those things that work for you and your employees. And you get that by, again, that 360-degree view, listening to your people, and getting out there and figuring out what thing motivates them and what demotivates them, right? So if you're going to improve your abilities, I'll say look at this list down here at the bottom. Focus on the things you can do. Find a coach, get a mentor, practice your message. I find it's so interesting when I'm in an elevator and I will listen to somebody say, oh, what do you do for your company? And they stumble even on 17 floors and they can't explain in a few seconds what their company does, what they're about, and get to the point, hey, can we exchange business cards? And they lose that opportunity to be able to support another patient or another customer, right? Like, when I hear people say, oh, it took me 15 or 18 or 20 times to shoot that video, I'm like, you can't tell me as a leader in your company, I don't care what level you are, you can't tell me as a leader in your company that you can't deliver a 7 to 15-second message about what you do and what your company does. You should be able to do that. If not, get in the mirror and practice it. As we wrap up, the last thing I'll say is it has to be fun. When I took this job 6 years ago at Tactical, they asked me, the former owners and the board then, which are all retired now, they said, what will keep you here? I said, and as is the case for anywhere I've worked, it has to be fun or I won't stay. It can be hard, it can be difficult. As long as I know the goal and we get everybody aligned behind that, we need to make it fun. Because the most expensive thing to do is change your people out over and over and over. It's just a drag, it slows you down, it's daunting, and it prevents the company from moving forward. There's a lot of great things you can do around employee retention, but think about employee retention and making it fun. If you can make it fun and have great reward systems, that will help your company move forward in a great way and eliminate the most costly change that happens in your company is the cycle of people. I told our sales director when he came on a year ago, it'll take him over a year to just figure out the business well enough, and he learned that, and I said, now you got to think about hiring some more salespeople, and it's going to take them a year to get caught up. And that's when revenue will start, is after that year, like where they actually contributing on a larger scale. So here's 7 takeaways from what I try to share with you today. First, build a team that complements your weaknesses. Second, your most critical role is to listen to the hard truths, so listen to those that are different from you. Be consistent and predictable in your leadership. Again, if you're an ogre, be an ogre. If you're great, hey, come on, my door's open all the time, do it. But don't make it back and forth. People will not come to you if they don't know how. Let your team fail forward and succeed. Help them find the success and what they can learn from that. I like this one, number 5, probably one of my favorites, is I always say it this way: put a stake in the ground and let's start moving towards it. Stop overthinking it. If we have enough decision power lined up that that's generally the right direction, is like let's head generally towards that corner of the room, great, let's go that way. If we're end up over there at the sign, we're at least halfway there. All we got to do is make a left and go the rest of the way there, right? But you can always move the stake forward. I'm one of those guys that always moves the stake forward. We never reach our goal. And that seems counterintuitive and counterproductive and counter-rewarding. What I like to do is say, oh, we're almost at our 85,000th patient for the year. Let's move it to 100,000. And what we're going to do is celebrate as we wave by and put our eyesight over here on the 100,000, right? That, to me, is more fun, and it keeps you, hey, they made that goal, but now I'm on to the next one, right? I'm already thinking about the next one. It gets them thinking forward. So cultivate your culture. I told you I let our employees do that. We talk about culture on every town hall. We do every single month, and again, make it fun. Again, my name is Kevin MacRitchie, Tactical Rehabilitation and Brilliant Health Solutions. You can see us in our booth if you want to see some of our products and those products that we bring to military as well as to civilians and high athletic teams. I see John, our head of sales, is over there in the corner. John, if you want to wave. All right. He'll be at the booth as well. If you have any questions, we have like 2 minutes. Otherwise, I will be over in the corner there with John, and you're welcome. If anybody has a quick question, I'm glad to take it. I think we have a minute and a half left. Yes, ma'am. So on the tactical rehab side, company was founded to serve the U.S. military active duty. That has expanded into, and is impressive, expanding to all our allied nations as well. But we do civilian work. On the Brilliant Health Solutions side, coupled with tactical on that side, we do civilian work. We do some retail. We're doing some direct-to-consumer coming out here in the next couple months, so you'll see a lot more on that side. You'll see us on the social media and YouTube commercials and wherever else. I'll make John do the talking for those. Sorry? We don't do a lot in the mental health on that side of the equation, but we have a lot of companies that we do know and partner with in a lot of different markets on the mental health side. So again, thank you, everybody. These are just some of the awards, and every one of those awards, no matter whose picture on it, it's the team down there in the middle. If I could get every magazine and award that we get to put the team up there instead of me or Karen, we would be super happy. But these are just a few of the awards our company's earned, and we're very proud of them, and I thank you all for your time.